It's story time. I don't really have a song or a jingle, but it's story time with other Yellow Hat Guy. How about that? I'm gonna leave that first part in though. Anywho, let's talk electric cars. I recently got an electric car. This is not a humble brag video. I will have one of those in a recap of 2022 where I talk about the great things I was able to do this year. This unfortunately does not fall into that because when I say I got an electric car, I had an electric car for maybe 24 hours. So I'll get into why I wanted to get one first and then why I got rid of it second. Now, to be fair, I'm not against electric cars. This particular electric car is what I had problems with. Others, your mileage may vary. Your mileage may vary. Pun was intended. Okay, so what did I get? I had a 2012 Nissan Leaf. I had this Thursday last week. I was on vacation and we had a holiday. We had Christmas come up, and I was really excited to tell myself, hey, for all the efforts you made this week, all the home improvements and financial stuff that you've improved upon, this could be an asset for you. But really, cars aren't assets, they're liabilities, right? It depreciates in value, so the day it leaves the lot till it's eventually, after that nosedive, it's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. We do have situations where people have vehicles like, from yesteryear and they're classics. Somebody takes care of it. They want the vintage car. We like older things that remind us of different times in our lives. And that's why those things are what they cost and the average thing is not. Okay? So all that out of the way, I say this. Nissan Leaf, fully electric. I was really looking for a hybrid vehicle, but I figured, hey, fully electric, let's check that out. Now, that had been on my heart for a while, but I also do notary work, right? And I had a friend's sister who, she has a Tesla, and I got to finally ride in a Tesla. And she was selling me on it, saying how, smooth the ride is and the braking, and, she drives the way she drives, and she was able to, do a certain speed in that car. The problem is when you look at these electric vehicles, you can't really tell the 2015 model from the 2020 model. They all have the same style, at least as far as the Teslas go. That's how they look to me. On the inside and under the hood, a completely different story, but unless it says dual motor or something like that, I'm not going to know the Model 2 from the Model 3. I'm just not. There's no reason to change anything because you've already decided you wanted that brand and it's an electric car. And if we all have electric cars, then it shouldn't really matter, right? Thing is, not everybody can afford an electric car. So I say that to say this. Nissan Leaf is entry level. This particular Leaf was used $7,500. And you'd say, hey, that's a steal. And I wasn't going to finance it. I was just outright looking to cash and a little bit of credit card, and then figured after a couple of months I'd pay that back and we'd be in good shape. That's what the plan was. In addition to trading in my current vehicle. So current vehicle, it was a gift, and it wasn't necessarily my style, but hey, it gets me where I'm going. And it's actually nicer than my car. The car that I say my car, both are my cars, but it's nicer than the car that I had years prior. So when you're buying used cars, generally it's because you, A, need a car because you don't have one, or B, you need something more reliable or newer, and by new I mean that should be more reliable, than what you've got currently. So that was my case there, and for the price, I was like, let's go ahead and do this. So that Wednesday, I did the notary work, and that Thursday, I said, let's go ahead and do this before the Christmas holiday. So let me go ahead and get this car while it's still available, because other people might be thinking like I'm thinking and go ahead and grab this car. So I went up into the dealership. It wasn't one I had heard of. It was a small mom and pop type place, and they had the Leaf there. It was getting some work done on its brakes or something like that. I went ahead and I'm not going to throw this company under the bus, okay? They were good people despite things not working out, but I'll explain more as I get to it, right? These guys, they had the Leaf getting worked on at the Nissan dealership and went ahead and got it. What I didn't understand was when they went ahead and got it, it was low in charge. I'm like, would you sell somebody a car that's low in gas? Oh, hey, there's gas stations right down the street, okay? But there aren't electric chargers right down the street. Conveniently, though, you can use the pump that comes with it, the little charge-on pump adapter, whatever you want to call it. That comes with it, and hopefully it does, because if it doesn't, you're spending hundreds, if not $1,000 more dollars to replace that thing. So make sure you get it when you get any of these used electric vehicles. I digress. I got that thing with mine, and I had them charge it. I didn't realize how long it was going to take. Again, it should have clicked and registered with me that this was a 2012 vehicle, but I thought they would be advanced in technology by this time. Egg on my face, they were not. 3 hours later, it went from maybe 6 to, 10, you could argue. And that 10 was not really enough to even get out of the city. So you look at what's called range. That's the important thing when you look to acquire one of these electric vehicles. Range is how far do you think you can get around in this car. Now the range can vary, but back in that time it was 73 miles, which is, if you're driving like me, a mile a minute, that's an hour and 13 minutes. So I look at my daily commute from work, which is 45 minutes, but like 51 miles. That's barely making it. What it means is once I got to work, I'd have to somehow, some way find a plug around the building and let it charge that 3, 4, 5 hours, or the entire 8 hours I'm at work, and or do part of that and then go to a a fast charger that's somewhere nearby. Problem is when you think smart chargers and you think local, really those are the Tesla ones. Those aren't the other brands. And this was a learning experience for me because I had no idea how many different electric cars there are out there on the market right now. In 2012, you had Nissan Leaf, Tesla, and maybe one other. But now there's dozens of them out there, and you wouldn't know unless you actually had somebody tell you or something like that, right? So they sell me the car, and it was fast and easy. There was literally 4 sheets of paper that I got when buying this, okay? 4. 2 acknowledging that I'm selling my vehicle and that nothing was wrong with it, no issues or whatever. And then 2, acknowledging that I'm purchasing this Leaf and that it's as is, okay? That was it. Paid cash, paid debit, traded in my car, bam, got this Leaf. Except it still wasn't ready yet. So they got enough charge in it at the place to then take it to what I thought would be a fast charger. They took it to Nissan, and unfortunately Nissan is still in the dark ages with their chargers. They only leave the regular style charger out there. I think it's level 1. I could be saying this wrong. There's level 1, 2, and 3. I'm assuming 1 is the slowest charge and 3 is the fastest charge, right? So assuming that they have the basic one that's there, and that's pretty much equivalent of charging at home. So back then, it might take you 8 hours on charging from home, maybe even overnight charging the battery. And what you don't realize is they have lithium-ion batteries just like in your phone, right? I'm holding here this iPhone. You can charge that thing up hundreds of times as you have that phone. But what you'll find out is the maximum capacity will start to degrade. So it might still take you, for example, an hour to charge your phone from, let's say, 30 to 80%. But what most of us do is we leave our phones on the charger overnight, hoping to have a full charge in the morning. But what we're really doing is hurting that battery, because the battery continues to receive a charge while it's already at 100%. When you should charge it to just a certain percentage, or maybe charge it to 100 and then unplug it, right? So if you're leaving that thing charged on overnight, you're hurting the battery. And for 10 years you've got a battery. Imagine having the same phone for 10 years. Do you think it's going to perform the same? Probably not. So I say this to say that 73 miles that was expected with this range depleted all the way down to maybe 45. Only 51,000 miles on this vehicle, but could only do 43 miles. That's pretty much nowhere reasonable for me. That's maybe around my neighborhood, a few grocery stores, and then I gotta immediately hightail it home if I don't want to be stranded somewhere. And don't be fooled, these cars, they stop. They put themselves in neutral, allowing you to get out of the road, but it looks like a hard stop. It's not like when you run out of gas and you can coast for a little bit, kind of like being in neutral. But I never want to find that out. There are moments where the car talks to you and tells you, hey, a couple miles, 6 miles upon depletion, or whatever it was that she says. And I felt like Buzz Lightyear. To infinity. I was like, we're going to make it. We got to make it, because there's nothing else. I don't know anyone else who could give me a jump or give me some kind of electric charge to get going. You know, you'd have to have somebody with one of these, charger packs out there to charge your vehicle for, I don't know, however long it takes. And it's not like it's going to be a fast charger. That in itself might be hours of borrowing their battery pack, and they've got their own destination to go to. You don't want to be in a situation. You're pretty much going to have to get that car towed if you run out of electricity. You run out of energy. So they finally got it charged up enough at the Nissan to where he said, hey, you can come home and get this. You can come by and get this thing. So this is like 3 hours initial charge for just a small percentage to another 3 to 4 hours of some charge. And his story switched from picking it up 93% to I come back to explain what's going on with this thing to no, it was only 54%. It's like, well, which is it? You guys are supposed to know more than me. The thing is, they don't know. So at Nissan, they're saying smart charger at Sheetz, or fast charger, excuse me, I keep saying smart charger. Fast charger at Sheetz. They didn't realize that was just Tesla. So, but more on that later. So when I initially picked the car up later on in the evening, I said, hey, if I can drive home in this thing, I can get more time to get familiar and acclimated with this, because things are different in there. I'm so sure by now one of these pictures that you've seen up showcase how the gear shifter is different. It's more like a dial and not not like that. So that took a while to get used to, but once I got used to it, I was okay with it. It wasn't a deal breaker for me. The range, however, was, because what I also had to learn was going home thinking I can do 45 and quickly figuring out I only had 35. Accessories like heat and charging up devices also reduce the range. So there's a battery under the hood that does the lights and things like that, like a regular standard lead acid battery, right? But then there's the main battery that's underneath the car that are, it's inside some of these vehicles that actually gets the car moving. So 2 different batteries there, and those are pretty much your main functions. The friend's sister that I rode with in the Tesla, she's like, look, no oil changes, no gas. I'm good with the electric car. Now, for me, I'm spending on my commute to and from work $200 a week, or I'm sorry, not a week, a month. Pump the brakes, $200 a month in gas, and then every 2.5 months, it might be $50 for, you know, a premium oil change with the full synthetic oil, right? So, you know, and it could be cheaper, synthetic blend or whatever it is you do, but one's from 3,000 mile to 5,000. And some people say, hey, you can do a little bit more than that, but I digress. That's the situation I face financially, and I'm like, that's just another bill. So, you know, let's just do some quick math here, because my teacher said I wouldn't have a calculator with me wherever I go, and we carry our phones with us wherever we go. $200 times 12, that's $2,400. And then we'll add an oil change. We'll add like 4 oil changes. We'll say $50 times 4, that's another $200, so plus 200. So that's $2,600 right there. And you're like, well, that's not big savings, but if your down payment was, you know, $2,000, well, there you go. I'd rather put that into myself than to be putting it into services, right? Think about it. You can give that for gas that you're not getting back, or you can put that $2,600 into your light bill or a newer vehicle, right? V6 engine, it's not getting any newer, so that's part of why the gas is higher for me. But it's an older vehicle on top of that. So this was supposed to be a preemptive move to get rid of a car that's still good and put it towards a car that's, you know, if at all, slightly better. So I realize this is being a long video, and I'm trying to wrap it up. So I get that car home, and I felt like I had a lemon. And I did tons of research, and by research I mean watching other YouTubers who also have this type of vehicle to get some more clarity on what I have. And then I discover in North Carolina, although there's some lemon laws, they didn't have to give me my car back, which is kind of how I was feeling. I had mixed feelings about having this Leaf. I enjoyed that it was electric. I enjoyed how looking out my window, looking at my driveway, seeing the Leaf sit there, how it felt like I had finally made it. But you know, that was just my ego, right? It's just a vehicle, it's just a material thing. Leaf is small enough to actually go in my garage, it's compact, but on the flip side, I was losing horsepower. I couldn't do off a turnpike or entryway, I couldn't get that acceleration. You're not going to do that in an electric car, at least not these models, okay? So if we're doing pros and cons, there was a pro and a con right there. Smaller vehicle, not necessarily a con, but not a pro either. No gas or oil change, those are definitely pros, but the cons is the crappy range and, you know, not having access to charging ports right now. As we get further and further into the future, we are getting more of these things. What I liked about the Leaf was it does have a screen and it shows you where these charging stations are so you can get to them, but you kind of change your itinerary when it comes to how you travel, right? How you plan your day, I should say. I would go from, hey, I went to work and I'm getting groceries or a couple other errands, and now I'm home. When I'm home, I'm home. I'm at that age now where I've done everything I need to do outside. Once I'm inside, I'm not going back out for anything else unless I have to have it before tomorrow, right? With these electric cars, you might have to plan when to charge. So you're either charging at night or you're charging early in the morning before work if you're not fully charged. And I would hate to have to do that every day. But when you get gas every day, you don't really think about it. You're at the pump for maybe 5 minutes and you're filled up or whatever, and then you go on about your business. You're low on gas, you know there's a gas station right down the street, and you're going to go ahead and get what you need, right? So it's a big adjustment when you haven't had to think this way until now. So to wrap it up, I decided, hey, I need to try to get my car back because this isn't going to work out for me. The range is getting worse. The battery is shoddy. They didn't sell me on it. I literally only got to drive the car for a couple of minutes before I realized that I didn't get to see how this battery was. So I took pictures. I got an idea of what it was I was dealing with. I didn't get to put this video up until now because I ended up getting sick a few days later. So went back to the dealership that next morning. Immediately, this is like Christmas Eve. Excuse me, Christmas Eve. They were still open. Told them the situation just like I'm telling y'all. And fortunately, they were actually understanding. They understood everything. They're like, you taught us some things. And they actually pulled the leaf from their listings on, all kinds of internet listings and social media. I was surprised by that. I actually still wanted the leaf even after all of that, just not at that price. Because I did further investigating and looking at other places that may have had a leaf. And the problem is, even if this leaf is in South Carolina and they only want $3,000, does it have enough charge that I could drive down there and get home? Or am I have to pay to get that towed? Those are things you have to think about. Somebody can tell you this leaf can do whatever, but until you actually drive it, you don't actually know. Now these newer leafs, it shows they have 12 bars, and maybe 2 of those after 10 years are going to be in the red. Mine had 8, 2 of which were red, and then the remaining 6 bars. So it looks like it lost, if it had the 12, it's clearly lost a third of that, right? And maybe it only had 10, I don't know. But what I will say is it clearly wasn't at 100. And it felt like even with keeping the heat off, the fact that it was cold outside, it was 11 degrees both Thursday and Friday. So, or I'm sorry, yeah. I got the thing on Thursday, and that was Friday, Christmas was, I'm getting my days mixed up. Just know that 2 of those days, it was super cold out, and I would have to say it was Friday. 11 degrees out. That's going to affect the car whether you have the heat on or not. Your phone in the dashboard, 70-degree weather, temperature is going to come on. It's going to lock up that phone to protect the phone from overheating or whatever. Likewise, when it's super cold out, you may have issues with the phone's performance. It's the same battery. Not the exact same, obviously, but the same concept. And what I've learned is you've got different ranges in newer vehicles, right? 24 kilowatt hour battery is going to do maybe 80, 73 to 80, right? Nissan Leaf did not have weather, some kind of, system to accommodate for the weather. It just is what it is. Whereas these Teslas and other vehicles, they did have something to compensate. So when it's really cold out, they've got a technology, some kind of pad that goes around this battery that heats the battery. And when it's hot out, the thing cools it, right? Leaf, 2012 at least, no dice. So then you've got the 42 kilowatt hour battery. That's going to get you maybe 130 to 150 miles per hour. That's ideal for me because I could get to where I'm going, have enough juice to not fully charge it, but charge it enough to where I can get back to where I was, right? Get back home. That's minimum what I need right there. So no, I'm not driving 3-4 hours, but right around 2 hours, that might be the max of what I'm doing. That would definitely get me to Fayetteville and back, right? Then you've got the present day range, which is 62 kilowatt hours. And that's going to get you like 230 miles, maybe a little bit more than that. And that's what these newer Teslas have. That's what I was hoping I would at least have, but you get what you pay for. So while I like the Leaf, I wasn't going to be able to do that if the company was going to sell me the Leaf back for a lower price and I could find that battery somewhere else, a newer battery or refurbished battery, however, then it might have been worth it to get it. The problem is other people are thinking just what I'm thinking and sharing with you right now. So keep that in mind when you go shopping for electric cars, because these batteries, they are hazardous. They're hard to find on top of everything. It's a newer technology, and it's not something you're going to find in a junkyard, right? Some of these have cells that can be just added, and some you got to replace the whole battery. So I'm not sure where Leaf stands, but looking at just a 24 kilowatt hour, $4,000. Then you might move to the next level, maybe 11,000, and then the last level, 17,000 plus. Not worth it at all. But if you could get the car, if you told me 20,000, I could get the Leaf and it's brand new the current style battery, a 2012 Leaf with 230 miles per hour. I might argue that that was a win, but only in that situation could it be a win. If I paid 10,000 for the other one, or 11, whatever, and got the Leaf for 3,000, 14,000, that could still be doable, given that, hey, that's still 150 miles, and maybe somewhere in that time I have enough room to get to a different charging station if I need to. Because believe you me, when we finally got to a charging station, I was able to charge it up and realize the charger, the scan card, where you pay, like use your credit debit card, was not working. And I had called the customer service number, and they're like, well, we can direct you to another place. And I'm like, what do you mean, man? I've only got enough charge to get here. I can't go anywhere else. So they're able to reboot their systems. It's all electric, nothing fancy. It's a basic Windows app kind of thing. And they were able to let me pay over the phone to bypass the reader not working, and I can use the charger. Now, this thing uses a CHAdeMO charger. So these newer electric cars use CCS, whatever that stands for, but my car had some kind of form of that, but the CCS would not fit in my car. I needed some kind of adapter to make that work. But the CHAdeMO, it was able to connect. There was only one there, though. That's the problem. So I feel like the CHAdeMO is being phased out, and you would need some kind of adapter to use the CCS at places like Electrify America, where I went. So yeah, that's the story there. They gave me my car back. I was able to move everything from my old car back into, or from the Leaf back into my old car. No harm, no foul. They refunded me all of my money. And it would have been nice to have that electric car and to showcase some highlights. And, it's been a heck of a year. But I'm going to end it here. This was a long video. It's probably going to be longer than the next video I share with you story time-wise, which is going to be what my 2022 accomplishments were. So, but hey, a lot of stuff learned here. Hopefully this was valuable information for you, and you can take it upon yourself when you make your own decisions on electric or not. As for me, I don't regret doing it. I think I might need to get a hybrid though instead for now. Other Yellow Hat guys out. Like, comment, subscribe, share as always, and I will see you in the next one. Captain Sensation!